Okay guys, here we are with our Unit 6 exam review, and we're going to start with this first question. So it says, which number line represents the solution to the inequality 250x plus 400 is greater than or equal to 2400? So let me rewrite that down here. 250x plus 400 greater than or equal to 2400. So again, big numbers, but the process is still going to be the same. We have to find the solution and then see which number line matches it. So my first thing I have to do is I have a coefficient with the variable. I have a constant here, the plus 400, and then I have like an ending amount. So I have to say, okay, what's my constant that I want to move? It's going to be the 400. So I have to move that to the other side by doing the opposite. Remember, whatever I'm adding or subtracting, that's what I want to move. So those are going to cancel. 250x gets brought down. It's still greater than or less than, and then 2400 minus 400 is just 2000. Okay, so now I have the coefficient with the variable and the ending amount, but I don't want the number with the variable, so I have to get rid of that. Right here we're multiplying 250 times x, so I want to do the opposite of that and do the division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 250. When I divide these by 250, this cancels, and I'm just left over with x greater than or equal to. And when I try to say, okay, what's 250 when it goes into 2000? I say, okay, 250 goes into 2 0 times, into 20 0 times, into 200 0 times. So now I'm having to check, let's see, 250 times 4, just to have something to look, like to try. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20, and then 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. So it's only half of what I need, so let me try 8. 250 times 8 would be that 2000. And so x has to be greater than or equal to 8. That should be my solution right there. So now let's say, okay, which one matches that? So again, these number lines should be pointing towards the right because this inequality arrow is pointing towards the right. It's greater than. So that means that D is out, letter B is out. I'm only between A and C. Okay, so letter A has a closed circle or a filled in circle. Letter C has an open circle. Since the line is underneath that inequality sign, it would have to be a closed circle. So this is letter A would be my answer for number 1. Again, so it's all the values greater than or equal to 8. So it could be 8, 9, 10, 11, so on and so forth. Okay, now looking at number 2. It says which values from this set satisfy this inequality. So they're giving us specific numbers, and they want to see which ones are possible solutions for this inequality. So it's negative 1/2 x plus 8 greater than or equal to 10. So let's solve it first, and then we can see which ones actually work. So I have to get rid of my constant, the one that I'm adding or subtracting. So again, let's move this to the other side by subtracting. We're just doing the opposite, so these can cancel. So now we have negative 1/2 x greater than or equal to 10 minus 8 is just 2. Okay, so now I have to get rid of this coefficient. How do I, get rid of the negative 1/2? Remember, it's like if it's negative 1/2 times x. So what's the opposite that we can do? We can, let me rewrite this right here. This is the same thing as saying x divided by negative 2. because the negative 1/2, the x would just go on top. So what's the opposite of dividing by negative 2? Multiplying by negative 2. That way these cancel, and I also have to multiply by negative 2 on this side. So what am I left over with? X. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then because this was a negative coefficient, so because it was a negative right here, I have to flip the sign over. So instead of greater than or equal to, now it's less than or equal to. So this would be my solution. And so I have to say, okay, which numbers out of here are less than or equal to negative 4? So it wouldn't be negative 3, wouldn't be negative 1, 0, or 2. The only possibilities are it can be negative 4 or negative 6. So the only answer that shows that is this one, letter J. Because again, those are the only numbers in this set of solutions that would fit it. Like if you tried to put 0 in, it would be a number that's greater than, so it wouldn't work. If you tried to put negative 3, it would be greater than, so it doesn't work. These are the only possible numbers it could be. Negative 6 and negative 4 from this group of numbers or solutions. Okay, number 3. What is the solution set for this inequality? So I have negative 4x plus 20 greater than negative 8. So I say, okay, I have to move my constant, the number that I'm adding, now I have to subtract it. So I'm going to subtract it from both sides. These cancel. Negative 8 minus 20, whenever they're the same sign, I can just add them together and keep the sign. So 20 plus 8 is 28, and then I keep the negative. So this is negative 28. The greater than sign moves down, and the negative 4x moves down. Okay, now I have the coefficient next to the variable. So I'm gonna, remember, it's like negative 4 times x, so what's the opposite? Division. So negative 4 over here, negative 4. These cancel. I'm left over with x. Negative 28 divided by negative 4 is a positive 7, because a negative by a negative is positive. But what happens here, I have this negative 4 that I'm dividing by. So whenever I divide by a negative number, that means the sign has to flip around. So it goes to less than now. So the answer for this one would be letter B. X is less than 7.